Hey guys, welcome back to my next art book preview video. This week we've got another one by Dongho Kim, the Korean artist, another perspective book. So you guys might be familiar with his work from that. Quick look at the front and back of this book. It is a paperback with a glossy cover, and I believe that the title translates roughly to Perspective Practice for Live Drawing. Now, normally I leave this open for a second so you guys can pause the video and read the contents. But unless you speak Korean, that's probably not going to be much good for you in this one. But I did translate them off camera. So whilst I flick through this one, I will read out what they translated to. This character, by the way, and the way this book is laid out, at least at the beginning, you might be familiar with if you have read Dongho Kim's other book on perspective. He has quite a well-known one that is available in English called Space Drawing. In fact, let me grab that. So that is this one here. I do already have a video on this one. So I will put links to this in the description box below. If we have a quick flick through that, you can see that character again. Quite a simple layout. It's not overloaded with information on each page. It's quite sort of bite-sized chunks. I talk about it in the other video, but for me, for perspective, that makes things a little bit easier, as I do get a little bit overwhelmed. So we're following that sort of similar format. I know that they are making a book 2 of Space Drawing, but this one seems to be a different book completely. Now, at the moment, it is only available in Korean, so I don't know if that's going to change or not. I got my copy from the K-Zone website. So if you've watched many of my other book preview videos, you might have heard me mention them before. They are my go-to for like Korean books and things like that. They also have sent me some books in the past and do provide me with discounts when I review these. So that does mean that I have got a discount code for you guys if you want to buy this one. And also the Rocky Kim books that I previewed, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I'll put the links to all those things and all the information in the description box below. It does expire, so yeah, make sure you check those details out. But thank you to K-Zone. But before I forget, I said I was going to read out the chapter names or what they translated to. So chapter 1 is Understanding Perspective. Part 2 is All Volumes and Objects. Part 3, Understanding Eye Level and Vanishing Points. Part 4, Let's Draw a Person According to Perspective. That one's quite a big chapter. Part 5 is Perspective Techniques Needed When Designing Characters and Objects. And last of all, Part 6 is more of an in-depth analysis of the fisheye lens. This one here is a pretty good example of the fisheye lens. I can't remember off the top of my head whether that's classed as like 5-point perspective. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But it's pretty good throughout the book. He's got these sort of, crosses and green circles to show examples of how to do it and how not to do it. I have only just received this in the post, so I haven't been through this, translating it yet. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, perspective is always one of those things for an artist where we know we need to learn it, but it's not the most exciting thing to learn, or at least in my opinion. But these books I do find helpful. Translating isn't ideal, but if the book's good, then it may be worth it. And there are a lot of perspective books out there, but again, it's not something I enjoy studying, as important as it is, and I know we all need it as a fundamental, but I find it really hard to take in the information. And I always remember being in school and, learning with a ruler, drawing everything exact, and it just being a real pain. I did not enjoy it, whereas I do think that Dongho Kim's sort of way to teach it is a little bit more realistic. Like, I know in the other book they talk about it being not so exact, having to use rulers. A lot of it is freehand. Now, maybe that's not how everybody wants to do it. If you're drawing buildings, architecture and stuff like that, fair enough. But for a lot of us, we don't want to rely on, rulers and getting things exact. It can be quite stressful, or at least that's my experience with it. So sometimes this sort of approach is a lot more user-friendly, or at least more helpful and realistic, useful for the kind of things I draw, like characters. And again, that is the big selling point of this book to me, because I've actually mentioned in a lot of my book videos over the years, if I've ever reviewed any perspective ones, I've always said I always think they're lacking in how to draw characters in perspective, like how to place them in space. Now, I know everything can come back to cubes and everything like that, but I do think that a lot of the information out there when it comes to perspective is very much about buildings and landscapes and things like that, environments. And again, I find that really, really boring. So if I can find something that shows me how to use perspective with more organic shapes, or I guess people, characters, then that is really useful for me. And I remember that a lot of you in the comments said the same thing. So from what I've seen in this book so far, just from flicking through it, This one seems like it's quite good for like drawing whole scenes like this, not just boxes. So quite an interesting approach that I think a lot of you guys will be interested in, especially his sort of style. Yeah, it's not like polished or anything, don't get me wrong, but it does remind me very much of like a Kim Jung Gi style. This sort of, you know, freehand, already mastered perspective, can do loads of fisheye lens, warp stuff like this. Yeah, that's actually a really good example. By the way, I do have this one as well, a video for this, another Dongho Kim book. This one is like a character drawing one. So check that out. Again, links in the description box below. And I mentioned earlier about the Rocky Kim books. So that's not a perspective book. That is a anatomy book. I really recommend that one. There's actually 3 books in that series. Again, you guys loved that one. So I got that from K-Zone again, and they said to me that I can have another discount for my audience. So again, I'll put the links on all the details and all that in the description box below. But I'm going to see if I can get them to extend that all the way until Christmas. So yeah, whilst perspective isn't my favourite thing to study, it's definitely something that's pretty vital for us as artists, and it's going to sort of improve and speed up your workflow and understanding of other things. So it's better to do it earlier rather than later. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. It means I can keep making videos like this. Thanks for watching, everyone.